We've been taught to seek healing in solitude, to feel embarrassed or weak when we ask for help. But the truth is, communal care isn't just support. It's survival, it's strategy, and it's been the soul of every liberation movement known. In this episode, we're going to remember that healing has always been a collective effort. Long before Western clinical treatment, there was us. Welcome to the Healing Underground, a sacred space where we remember what we've always known, reclaim what we've always had, and rise in all the ways that heal. I'm Ashley Edwards, a mental health innovator, founder of MindRight Health, and initiated Ifa in the West African spiritual tradition of Ifa. If modern wellness has ever felt like it isn't made for all of who you are, you're in the right place. But remember, this podcast is not a lecture. It's a meditation. Let's begin. So what does communal care mean to me, and why is it sacred? Well, you may have seen aspects of communal care in mutual aids groups or resource sharing groups. The truth is, healing happens in community. And for me, communal care is liberation work, because communal care rejects that we have to go at life alone, that we cannot be held by other people and hold other people, that we don't deserve the reciprocity of care, love, and support that we pour into this world. Community is necessary for our collective healing. So how have our communities practiced communal care as resistance? Well, communal care was at the center of every liberation movement, civil rights movement, Black Panthers movement. You may have heard of the free food programs, the educational programs. These are all examples of communal care, because the truth is that we don't talk about. These movements were not only political movements, they were healing movements. When freedom fighters were being heckled and beat and imprisoned for their work for the civil rights movement, don't you think that these movements also provided communal care to help them heal, to help them respond to the systemic trauma that they were experiencing on a daily basis in their fight for freedom and our rights? These practices were core to these movements. These movements were successful because they acknowledged that community and unity not only leads to healing, but also can lead to liberation for our people. Let's take the nonviolence movement, for example. That was a key aspect of the civil rights movement. When protesters and freedom fighters were being attacked and brutalized and killed in the street, fighting for rights that we enjoy today, there were no therapists on call. There was no clinical treatment awaiting them. What they had is what we have today, which is us, which is community, which is looking out for each other and holding each other in those moments and acknowledging our humanity, acknowledging when wrongs happen, fighting for justice together, because again, healing is liberation. And that was something our ancestors knew. That was something that generations before us knew, because it was necessary to win the fight for freedom. And the fight for freedom is not over. We are still living in a world dominated by systemic oppression and inequalities that impact the very system that this podcast is about, the mental health industry. But as a reminder, again, mental health is healing and healing is resistance. So how are you going to choose to resist in this world? Are you going to try to go at it alone? Or are you going to do it in community? Will you learn from what's been done before? Will you learn from the best practices of our communities, of our ancestors? Because you don't have to do this alone. And this podcast is here to remind you of that. So what happens when healing becomes a collective pursuit instead of an individual act? Well, then you get the benefit of not only helping other people heal from pain, but you get to experience collective joy. We get to experience collective joy. And it's that collective joy that heals generations. It's that collective joy that breaks generational curses. That collective joy is the key, and it's happened when we work in community and not siloed, when we don't follow the individualism that this society promotes that is counter to what our ancestors knew. And honestly, it makes me keep asking, why do we keep forgetting that community is the medicine? That community is the answer, it is the solution? Again, we were not meant to go at this life alone. We were meant to experience what it's like to be held and comforted and known and fully seen. There's a lot of talk in the mental health industry and digital health right now about the prevalence of loneliness, of isolation, of how this is all leading to a mental health crisis. Well, the news is that this mental health crisis has existed for generations because it's existed from the moment that we rejected the lessons that have been learned again from generations that we need to be working in community and communal care has to be a core part of any system that is created to help our wellness and healing. So much gets lost in the over-clinicalization of care. But it doesn't have to be that way. And that's why I built my company, MindRight Health, differently. We provide mental health coaching via text message. And a lot of people asked us, well, who are your coaches? Are they all licensed therapists? And the answer is no. Because while we have experienced crisis responders on staff, if there are ever any suicidality or self-harm, we are standing firmly in our knowing that you don't need a license to change a life and provide that aspect of communal care. And having a license as a barrier prevents a lot of people from getting the support that they need. So who are our coaches at MindRight? They're members of the community. They're people with lived experiences. They're people who have gone through the same challenges that our members have gone through, because we acknowledge intergenerational wisdom in communities rather than just a resume or a licensure or et cetera that's typically accepted in the digital health industry, because we know that we already have the answer inside of us. Our communities already have the answer. And we've seen the results. Thousands of people telling us they're healed, their life has been changed. They never thought they've experienced joy until speaking to a MindRight coach who just happens to be another community member. Imagine if everyone in our community decided to make sure that everyone else in the community felt seen and heard. Every day, no one's alone. Everyone has someone checking in on them, providing support, sharing lessons they've learned. That is what we build at MindRight. Imagine being a part of a community where everyone feels seen, everyone feels heard, everyone feels valued. Where what you give, you get back because you know that they care, because you know that every day you have someone checking in on you, you have someone making sure you're good, not out of obligation, but out of understanding that we only make it through this thing called life when we do it together. When we only reach that ultimate goal of healing and joy and feeling understood when we provide that to another person. That is what we build at MindRight. And that is why MindRight is getting the outcomes that we're getting and why we've grown this beautiful community of healing, because we are standing firmly. We are rejecting what Silicon Valley is telling us, what traditional mental health experts and educators have told us, that you need to have X level of pedigree, X level of certification or licensure, because we know with proper training, community members have the answer. We have the answer. If you're listening, you have the answer and you can help someone. So how do I know that you don't need a license to change a life? Well, it's simple. I've seen it, I've done it, and I've felt it. I've experienced it myself. I've changed lives and I've had people change my lives. And they weren't always a therapist. They were teachers, they were friends, they were grandparents. They were sports coaches. And it still mattered for me. And I know it can matter for you and others as well, because this is also about acknowledging that your life matters. You have wisdom that needs to be heard. You have lessons that need to be taught to someone else. And only through communal care can we bring that forth so other people can benefit from what you already know. Thank you for going underground with me. The journey doesn't stop here. If you like support along the way, explore my free guided meditations. Or if you're ready to have someone walk beside you on this path, visit MindRight to start your healing journey. May your healing be sovereign, may it be sacred, and may it be yours.